So um, this year,
Hmm.
um, I'm not sure if you picked up as well, but Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia decided he wants to get rid of some of the Sahih hadiths and then keep only the mutawatir ones.
Smart, smart.
Is that what you think about it? Good,
Well, yeah,
good
I
for
mean,
Muslims.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, no, smart for him. I'm not saying it's good or right. It's smart for him. But yeah, if you look at, I think that's a, I think he, I think he wants to sort of block Islam a bit more from criticism as far as a lot of the stupid things that are going on. Try to bring it a little bit more into the mainstream world while still being a messed up person behind the scenes, but just try to keep that secret. And it's just I mean, it's kind of just a matter of time. I mean, they have to, right? You can't be imposing all these weird teachings on society and take all these weird teachings seriously, and then expect to be taken seriously around the world and not be criticized for these insane, stupid teachings. And so I think we're going to be seeing more and more of that. And we see it from our Muslim friends all the time. We bring up a hadith, they reject it. We bring up a hadith, they reject it. We bring up a hadith, they reject it. And so it's a matter of time where you get, that becomes popular enough that governments start throwing things out and so on. And yep, it's just a result of constantly watering down Islam, that we are getting this sort of Walt Disney version of Islam that previously was just used for apologetics purposes, just to trick people into not having objections against Islam. But once you get enough people believing that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and some people in apologetics world were like kind of not happy the statements he made, but they didn't get that much platform to express that. Also, this year we had Taliban took over Afghanistan.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah, that was big there.
What are your thoughts and actually what are your feelings about it? In case like I don't want you at the end you tell me like you didn't care about my feelings and you didn't ask about my feelings.
Yeah. Well, well, it's like it's a situation where the reason lots of people would be in favor of getting out of there is that you don't want these perpetual wars going on. You don't want, people. I'll give both. I'll give both sides. I'll give the side for getting out and the side for staying there. You could argue that shouldn't have been there or something like that. The thing is, okay, here's the situation we found ourselves in this year, regardless of what you think about the past and whether it was a good idea to invade and things like that. The situation we're in right now this year was we're in the situation where for decades now we've been in this country. Do we want to stay there forever? And the case against it, I mean, the case against leaving, it's got the case for leaving, the case against leaving. The case against leaving is as soon as you leave, we know who's taken over. And it looked like it would only be a couple thousand people who would be required to stay there. And then you could basically keep the Taliban out of power forever with a force of a couple thousand people who are basically the backup for the Afghani soldiers. And the idea is the Afghani soldiers do not function well on their own. And that's not, that's not to insult them. A group like the Taliban is incredibly hard to fight. It's incredibly difficult to fight people who fight like that, caves, and they know the trails, and they have people in every community who are willing to help them and give them cover, and they have no qualms about blowing up schools, blowing up mosques, and so on. Very difficult for any army to fight them. And so the case was, well, with a couple thousand people there acting as backup for the Afghan military, you could keep the Taliban out of power indefinitely. So that's the idea there. The case for getting out is, do you really want to just keep sending U.S. soldiers to something that you're never going to win? Because some people would say, look, if you're going to fight a war, you fight it. Go ahead and fight it to win. Don't just, we kind of got our objective and now we're just gonna draw this out forever. All right. So if you're fighting, then go all out, conquer everyone that you're there to conquer, find them all, and and then you've won, and then figure things out. The problem that people have is everyone. You've got the people who thought we should remain there just to keep the Taliban out of power, and you had the people who say we should have gotten out. The problem was we got out in the like stupidest way imaginable. I mean, like if you sat down and said, I'm going to come up with the dumbest plan for leaving Afghanistan that I could possibly come up with, that went beyond it. That was like beyond stupid. I mean, like I'm talking like leaving massive amounts of weapons and vehicles. I mean, there are these videos of the Taliban trying to learn to fly these Black Hawk helicopters that were left behind, and they're like, they don't know how to fly them yet, so they're driving them around on the tarmac at airport. They're just driving. They're using Black Hawk helicopters as cars on the tarmac, driving these things around. And the thing is, they can find people who can train them to use that stuff, right? There are people that they could find who can train them how to use that equipment. There are people in the Afghan military who know how to use that equipment, and that you can say, okay, we won't execute you if you teach us how to join us and teach us how to use this stuff. And so you just ended up with the best terrorist military in the world all of a sudden. Which, notice, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to be that stupid. You could have made sure they didn't get a hold of that stuff. So yeah, it was just a big screwed up situation. And then we see afterwards, and it's only been getting worse, because you got the Taliban taking over, and now people are starving. I don't know if you've been following this, but I've been seeing like families having to sell their little girls to much older men, people like Muhammad, selling their little girls as wives to these much older men, and the girls are terrified. But I have to sell my daughter, or the rest of my family starves. If I sell her, at least she'll be fed, and at least we'll eat. And but the families are like, we've got 6 kids, so we're going to sell one, and then a few months from now, when we're all starving again, we're going to have to sell another one. And so it's a pretty bad situation.
It was $1,600 for 9-year-old girl when she was sold.
Yeah. The guy should have just claimed to be a prophet, and then people would give them their daughters.
There's a question. What do you think about France changing their stance on Islam?
What do you mean about becoming more aggressive against it?
I think in the context, I don't know what is the background of the question, but I'm assuming so. Back in days when Charlie Hebdo killings took place, they all stand against, like, okay, we will deal with Islam. We won't allow freedom of speech to be taken away, and that was the case in last couple of years. But now it seems they are like more scared by Islam, and they are not standing the way they used to stand. So it's like more shutting down the freedom of speech in a sense, actually.
I'd have to see what
becoming more friendly towards Islam now.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'd have to see what Sean means here, because you've basically got 2 trends. You've got, well, because of all the stuff, all the terrorist attacks and so on, you've got people who are trying to elect leaders and so on who are going to do something more about it. But then as soon as you start doing that, then you get the backlash against that. You're being a bunch of Islamophobes and bigots. And so notice you're going to have that everywhere. You're going to have that same reaction everywhere, because France has a pretty high Muslim population as far as Western countries. If the population's around like 1%, generally not a lot of problems, except for an occasional terrorist attack. Once you start getting 7%, 8%, 9%, 10%, I mean, it just massively escalates, and then it's just regular routine, constant attacks, harassment, things like that. And so it's something everyone's going to have to go through as Islam spreads. Like, how do you deal with that? Because you're going to get a bunch of people who start saying, hey, we're kind of fed up with this. And I mean, at the end of the day, Western nations are, people vote. people vote. And so you get enough people who are ticked off, then they're going to start voting people into power. But then what are those people in power going to do if they look like they're being going too far or something like that? Then you get a backlash against that. So yeah, I think we're going to be seeing that a lot from France. And the thing is, look at France, and then the UK is not far behind. Whatever happens in France, you're going to be seeing that pretty soon in the UK.
Yeah, we've got like approximate 12% is 12% of London is Muslim, and clearly they are ruling. It's only 12%, but they are ruling.
That's all you need, and so that works up until a point where people start realizing, wait a minute, if this small percentage gets you all of these problems, wait a minute, this is something that's not just gonna affect me, it's gonna affect my kids and my kids' kids, and we got some problems with the teachings of this ideology. And so, yeah, you're gonna get some feedback from people.
Sadly, it seems like our government in UK government doesn't that much concerned on danger of Islam. They are more concerned of hurting the feelings of the protected group.